Today's focus is on angle side angle and angle angle side. The first one we're going to do is angle side angle congruence postulate. Angle side angle. So we're going to abbreviate that ASA. The order matters. The side has to be in between the angles. So the postulate says if two angles and the included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the included side of another triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So again, that is two angles and the included side. So if you look at our pattern here, in these two triangles, we have that this angle is congruent to this angle. So that is angle A is congruent to angle D. We have that this side is congruent to this side, and that would be AC is congruent to DF. And we have that this angle with two arcs is congruent to this angle with two arcs. And that is angle C is congruent to angle F. So we have angle, side, angle. Same pattern here, angle, side, angle. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. Okay, the second example goes back to when we were doing parallel lines with a transversal. So just a really quick recap. Remember that when you have parallel lines and a transversal, this angle and this angle are congruent to each other. They're called alternate interior angles. And also this angle is congruent to this angle. And that's going to come into play in this figure that we have on our paper. So you see these parallel lines here, and this would be the transversal. So to my picture, I can add that angle 1 is exactly the same as angle 3. They're alternate interior. And I can add that angle 2 is congruent to angle 4. And I can add that to my picture because I can prove it. They are alternate interior angles. The other part of this that I can add is that they have a shared side. So this right here in the middle, WZ, they share that. So what I have is I have an angle is congruent to an angle. So this would be angle 1 is congruent to angle 3 because they're alternate interior angles. WZ is congruent to ZW because they are a shared side. And angle 2 is congruent to angle 4 because they are alternate interior angles. So we have angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. Congruent by angle, side, angle. Okay, so the next one we're going to do is angle, angle, side. So notice that this time that the side follows the two angles. So we are going to abbreviate this one as angle, angle, side, or AAS. Again, notice this time the side is at the end. It is not in between. So this says if two angles and a non-included side of one triangle are congruent to two angles and the corresponding non-included side of the triangle, then the two triangles are congruent. So in the first example, we have that angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle A is congruent to angle D. We have that angle C is congruent to angle F. So angle C is congruent to angle F. And notice this time we're not going to be looking at the side in between them. It's the side that follows. And so we have BC is congruent to EF. And that would represent my side. So I'm putting this up here. So we have angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. Same pattern in both. So this is congruent by angle, angle, side. Okay. Over here, I'm looking at this triangle. I notice it has an angle marked and a side marked. because these are connecting right here with that X pattern, these are vertical angles. So I can add vertical angles to the picture because that's something I can prove. So I have my vertical angles are congruent. I have my angle N is congruent to angle J. Okay, so notice in this triangle, these are the two angles. The side that's marked is not in between, it follows. Okay, and same thing here, these are my two angles in this picture. The side is not in between, it follows. So these are congruent by angle, angle, side. Okay, so at this point, we have learned about 4 different possibilities. We have learned about, today, angle, side, angle. We have learned about angle, angle, side. Earlier in the week, you learned about side, angle, side, and side, side, side. So those are your 4 options at this point. And then you always have the last option of there's not enough info. And you guys can just put it in for not enough info. So I'm going to do 2 of these. And then I want you to try the last 4. So on this one, when I see these connected like this, I can always go ahead and add vertical angles. And so when I look at my pattern, I have that this angle is congruent to this angle. I have that this side is congruent to this side. And I also have that my vertical angle is congruent to its vertical angle. So on this triangle, the top one, I have angle, side, angle. On the bottom triangle, I have angle, side, angle. So these are going to be congruent by angle, side, angle. I'm just going to write it like that. Okay. One more, and then we're going to pause the video. On number 2, we have this side of PQ is the same as this side of ST. We have that this right angle, so it's an angle, is congruent to this right angle. And then we have that QR, this side, is congruent to this side. So I'm going to look at one triangle at a time. I have 2 sides and the angle in between. So side, angle, side. I have the same pattern over here, 2 sides and the angle in between. So my answer here is side, angle, side. Pause the video and do the last 4 problems, and then you can start the video to check. Okay, let's check our work. So on number 3, remember if this is a right angle, so is its neighbor, because 90 plus 90 equals 180. And these have a shared side, so I'm going to mark that as well. So we have that this angle is congruent to this angle. This right angle is congruent to this right angle. And then their shared side is also congruent. So I have 2 angles and a side. This side is not in between the angles, so this would be angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Same pattern in both. Okay, number 4. Once again, I have this set up where I need to add my vertical angles to the picture. And so I have that this angle is congruent to this angle. I have that FG, which is a side, is congruent to GH or HG. And I have that EF is congruent to HJ. Okay, so I have a side, 2 sides and an angle. So I'm going to check to see if the angle is in between, because that's the only option when I have 2 sides and an angle. So if I look at these 2 sides, they connect here. Is that the angle that's marked? No. So this is not side, angle, side. This would be side, side, angle, or angle, side, side, which doesn't look good on paper. So I'm going to put in for not enough information on this one. Okay. The next one, we have an angle and an angle. We have a side and a side and a side. So once again, when you have 2 sides and an angle, the angle has to be in between. So when I look at these sides, I notice that they connect here. Is that the angle that's marked? No. So this again would be a not enough information. Okay, last one, and this is the easiest one. They share this side, so I'm going to mark it. I'm going to mark it with 3 ticks since these have already been taken. So we have a side with a side, side with a side, side with a side. I like these. All 3 sides of one triangle is congruent to all 3 sides of the other, so side, side, side. Okay. If you'll flip your paper over, on the back, you have a practice that only focuses on angle, side, angle, and angle, angle, side. Okay, so none of the others are an option right now. It is angle, side, angle, 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 side, or if neither method works, write an N. So if you will go through these, we will check them later.